Hello, everyone. Welcome to FUL-ON, your Fulham-centric football podcast. Joining me today is AJ and Mozza. How are we doing, guys?
Sweet as.
Very well, thank you.
We are now going to sit down and discuss our upcoming game this weekend with Ipswich. It's a game that I know that AJ is excited about because him and uh, our fellow sort of presenter Drew off on a little
Our
jolly for the
companion.
day to the game. So they'll be there together. The rest of us will be watching from home, unfortunately. But I think it's a game that we should be excited about. It's a good test, I think, for us. Uh, AJ, talk. We'll go with you first, obviously, because you're looking forward to being at the game.
I am.
What are you expecting from Ipswich as we face them this weekend?
Them to come out strong, guns blazing, similarly as they did to Man City. And I'm hoping for a similar sort of clap back from us as well when they do so. However, Ipswich are at home for this one, so they will have quite a strong supportive backing that we need to be careful of. But fingers crossed we can come out with quite a healthy result against a newly promoted team.
Yeah, I'm slightly hesitant because I think they've made a few really good signings over the last couple of weeks. And as we sit down and record this, no secret, by anyone who's watched all our videos this week and can see that all three of us are wearing the exact same clothes. That we were recording this quite early on in the week, as we prepare for what's going to be a busy one. I think they made a few sort of signings that are quite shrewd, some that we should probably be quite concerned about. And I think they've got some good players that can cause us some damage. But we'll talk about that in a moment when we look at the two lineups and what we're likely to see. Mozza, looking at the game, I know Ipswich have just come up. I thought they came up really strong. I think they've made some really smart business, as I said, in the transfer window. What are you expecting from them?
Well, look, they've had two hard games to start with as a newly promoted side, about as difficult a start for a newly promoted side you could ask for. Obviously, losses, Liverpool, City, but I fear them a bit as I think they've played well from what I've seen, despite the scorelines. They've been very pressing. Also, the fans in the stadium are rocking. Plus, we don't often play very well away from home. So I hope we don't do the inevitable Fulham thing and come away with a loss. It's not what I want, but it's what I expect. And I think that might be the case.
Yeah, the pessimistic Fulham fan, eh? We never ever
Hands
get
up.
super confident, I know. But I think, as I say, we look at some of the signings they brought in. They brought in Calvin Phillips, which I think is going to be a semi decent signing for them. He didn't really impress loads at West Ham, and I know there was quite a lot of West Ham fans that were really underwhelmed by him, sort of coming in. But they've also made two really decent signings just this weekend. They brought in O'Shea and they brought in Jack Clark from Sunderland, which I think is a really good signing for a young player. I think he's an exciting player, and They've done so for £15 million, which isn't even a lot of money for a player of Jack Clark's quality. We saw Jack obviously when he was a schoolboy and he played against us in the FA Cup at the Cottage, and he scored that goal that was then disallowed that almost won Sunderland the game. He's a good player, and he may be one of those players that may be being bought in preparation for them next year and looking to come back up again, because I don't think they expect to survive this season. But I think they've made some shrewd business, and I'm not quite sure if Amanda Broja has gone through for them just yet. I'm not sure that's been confirmed, but he potentially could also be in that squad as well, coming up to us to face on Saturday. AJ, what do you want to see from the Fulham squad though for this weekend?
Strong, dominant, controlling, similar to how we played against them in the cup last season. We need to show the golf in quality. They've still got a lot of players that are essentially playing on passion, that probably wouldn't get into many other Premier League squads. They have a strong football philosophy. They have an excellent manager. They have a great team, but they don't necessarily have a group of outstanding individuals. And I think we've got better quality in every position on the pitch, and I think we just need to go out and show that.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. Obviously, adding to that as well, AJ, who there? What are you expecting from our starting lineup? Are you expecting us to go super strong, or are you expecting maybe a couple of changes because it's probably the one game of the season we can?
I think it'll be full strength, honestly. I think we'll see changes, quite a few changes against Birmingham. We might actually pay the price for that. I was very positive, obviously, in a Birmingham preview that hopefully everyone has watched. If you haven't, go back and watch it. Um, but yeah, it's one of those. I was very positive, but if we're being real and being the pessimistic Fulham fans that we are, that's the sort of game that we might have had our backside bitten on. Realistically, by the time this has come out, you will know what the result of the Birmingham game is. I don't at the time of recording, so one way or the other, we'll find out. But yeah, I think we go super strong. We're going to have Anderson, or Berge, however it's pronounced. Going to be a very full squad, with potentially one more signing. Who knows?
Yeah, hopefully that signing may have been made by now anyway, but we do not know. Mozza, Ipswich away, I think could be a tough game for quite a lot of people this year. I think I really like their style of football. I think that they play some they play some really lovely football to watch last year in their championship, and I don't think that their manager, I don't think Kieran McKenna has the ability to not play that style of football as a manager, which I mean with the utmost respect because I've watched them play it a few times, as I say last year, and was really impressed with them. But looking at us and how we're going to approach the game, is there anything that you want to see? Any players you definitely want to see play? Any changes you might want to see from last weekend's game against Leicester?
Not too many changes, like AJ said. I think we should come out strong, and we will come out strong. I think a lot is going to be determined by how we play against Birmingham and what happens from that result. So I would like to see Anderson starting. Yes, I'd love to see Sessegnon if he's fit. It all also relies on who is fit and match ready. Um, Sorry, I lost my train of thought there for a second. I'm just thinking, yeah, with if we do get a new forward signing as well, will they be match ready? Will they be match fit? I'm a little bit wary about Muniz, so I think we've just got to come out guns blazing as well.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think for me, I know that Marco's mentioned that he wants one more signing to be a striker. I don't think it's going to be a striker. I think it's more likely to be a left-sided winger. But we should we should hopefully have quite a strong squad for this team. For this, I wouldn't mind actually seeing the same starting 11 from this week as we saw last week against Leicester. I imagine that there are probably going to be similar approaches in this game. Yes, we're probably the first Premier League team that Ipswich are playing against that they probably earmark themselves as go. This is the game we can get points from, because I think even the most diehard head and sky sort of fans gone. They're going to get points from Liverpool or Man City. So this is probably their first game. They're thinking that we can get some real points from, which means their fans are going to be really up for it. And anyone who's been to Ipswich, Portland Road, when it's rocking, it's a good stadium. It really gets their players up for it. And I imagine that we're probably going to see that. So I think we need to come out and control the game, especially the first 15, 20 minutes, get on top and just stay on top, and then if we can nick a few goals and get result that way, But it's Fulham, and who knows? We said the same thing last year going into games at Bramall Lane and going against at Burnley, that those away games were just carnage, and I don't really want to see us have those style of away games this year. I want to see us have a bit more control, and as we've alluded to already, over the last couple of weeks, I think the squad that Marco has this year is a little bit stronger than the squad he had last year. I think there's a lot of players sort of building and growing into that. So I'm expecting an awful lot of that to be the case. But as you say, this is Fulham. We would have loved to have an Ipswich point of view on this episode, which we usually like to do with our previews. But naturally, because we're recording early, because as they have the same problem we have with games midweek, we've not been able to get anyone on. So we don't know we don't know any sort of inside news from them about what they're expecting squad wise, or if they have any players coming in other than sort of what's out in the ether and stuff like that. Um, I don't want to put too much pressure on the game. It is one of those games as Fulham we have to go. You know, if we're going to win away games against newly promoted teams away games, we should be earmarking to get points from. AJ, what are you thinking that we should realistically be expecting from this game? And what result would you be happy if we came away with a draw? You know, or would you be disappointed with that now? Obviously, before we play the game, and how that sort of rolls.
I won't be happy with anything other than a win from this game, but I won't be surprised if we bottle it and get a draw or a loss, because we have a habit of giving newly promoted teams points, especially at their own grounds. So I'm going to be conscious of that. I'm also, as a Fulham fan, conscious that the most dangerous player in Ipswich's squad for them is probably Cameron Burgess, just because he's an ex-Fulham boy, and that that lives in the memory very well of ex-players scoring against us. Ipswich fans won't agree that he's the most dangerous, but from a Fulham perspective, all eyes are on him.
Yeah, I think I know what you're saying. I think for me, there's a few of their squad that we have to really watch out for. I think that Sammy Schmodic's come in and has already proven himself to be quite dangerous for Ipswich. He scored slightly lucky goal against Man City, sort of poked that bear a bit, uh, you know, with his goal last Saturday. But I think he's a really good player, and he's one of those players that if people go back and they listen to our episodes that we did pre-season when we were talking about players that you would like to see us sign, and we did a little bit of looking down at the championship and squad players that we could potentially come in and push up. Sammy Schmodix is one of the ones that we spoke about potentially. We would be excited about joining Fulham. So I think again, it's a real shrewd bit of business by Ipswich there. He's a really good young player, and I think he's going to do really well for them this year. Going into that, they've also brought in Liam Delap fully, and they got a lot of really good players. So I'm a bit wary, and but also not 100% knowing what to expect from them, which I think you know, could catch a lot of people out. I think that this is when we thank God that we're not professional analysts and we're just YouTubers talking about the game, because we would be there wouldn't be much going in terms of knowing what to expect from Ipswich. But Mozza, we want to talk about us. Obviously, we want to talk about how we're going to approach the game and what we're expecting from it. If you Is there anything from this game that you want to see happen from a Fulham point of view? Stuff that you feel like, even if it is only the third game of the season, is there something that you feel like we have to do in this game?
Win 3 points goes without saying. I want to see a strong defensive line from us. You just mentioned Sammy Smodics. I think he is someone to be feared. I really want to see us not make any defensive mistakes. I want to see our set pieces get stronger. I want to see our crossing be stronger. I want to see Andreas Pereira have a good game for the first time in a while, because I've always championed him and always liked him. But who knows what his future is going to be anyway. Yeah, I just think we need to be strong and on it and have the confidence, because they're going to be up for it. They're going to be out for blood. They're going to be wanting that first win, that first 3 points of at home, Ipswich.
Yeah, no, I think I agree with that. I think AJ, I want to know from you: is there anything that you feel like we have to do? Do we have to see Muniz score this weekend before we start panicking about him being our number 9? Do we need to see a little bit more fluidity with our set pieces? What are you thinking that we need to see this weekend?
We need to see a conversion of chances, whether or not that be Muniz or whether or not that be other players joining in on the attacking fold. We need to see more conversions of the chances that we're creating. Jack mentioned Andreas Pereira briefly there. We all have him failing the eye test at the moment, but from a statistical perspective, for whatever reason, every time we turn around and say, "Oh, he's been awful this game," he's got one of the best chances created or something like that stat from that game, which means that something is happening. It's just not going the way we want it to for it to pass the eye test. I need to see these chances turning into goals. And don't want to necessarily put all of that pressure on Muniz. However, he did have a few sitters against Leicester where he really should have done better. But we need to really seriously start looking at converting these opportunities, because if I'm looking back at our most recent goals, they seem and feel like individual moments in games as opposed to free-flowing creative football.
Yeah, I don't disagree, especially around Muniz. I want to see him, at least hitting the target a lot more than he currently is. I think we had a few sort of moments where he's he. There was a few moments during that Leicester game where he had chances that I wanted to at least see him make the keeper work a bit. He had that header in the first half against Leicester that he put just wide. He had that cut back just moments into the second half that he put 1 miles over that he probably should have done a bit better from. So I want to see him at least sting in the hands of the keeper a bit. But fundamentally, I think you're right in the sense of conversion of chances is the most important thing. And then, we look at Andreas Pereira as probably the key to that. I think Andreas Pereira is a bit of an anomaly in the squad because yes, he comes up and he hits. You see stats that he has the highest, the highest sort of chance setup and stuff in the squad. But I think if you take away free kicks and corners, he loses an awful lot of that. I think with him, he's flattering to deceive so far this season. I think that he has that problem again where he's trying to do everything a little bit too cute. He wants to beat a man 3 or 4 times before he passes the ball. I think we saw that quite a lot against Leicester last week, where he broke up play quite a lot because he was trying to be just a little bit, he's just trying to complicate things just a little bit too much. And I think we saw the same thing at Old Trafford first game of the season. I like him as a player, and I appreciate what he does when he's on it. But I think that he does have these games where he sort of tries to over elaborate too much. And I think that if you take away his corners and his free kicks, as I say, I just don't think he is hitting those stats that everyone keeps saying he is, and it's just one of those. It's one of those things because you're right, he is failing the eye test. I think watching it, going into it, and I think that there is some concern. I'm not panic stationing saying drop him, get rid of him. Other than out of frustration for moments like against Man United with the one-on-one pass, the two-on-one pass he should have made. But we'll go from it from there. Guys, well, obviously we want to do a quick prediction and player to look out for this game before we sort of wrap things up. Um, we wanna do that. I want you guys this week to give me a player from both teams that you think we should be watching out for, and with your scoreline prediction for the game on Saturday. So Mozza, we'll start with you. Um, Let us know a player from Ipswich, a player from Fulham that we should all be watching out for, and your scoreline prediction for the weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. I mentioned him earlier, Ipswich. It would be Sammy Smodics. Again, just think we've got to fear him. And I'm going to say Iwobi for us. I've just got a feeling, maybe it might be based on how we just played in the last game, that he'll do us some good. So overall, my score prediction is going to be 2-2.
Okay, and AJ, what about yourself?
For Fulham, I say keep a sharp eye on Sanderberger. I think he'll light up that midfield probably alongside Lukic. Maybe we drop Pereira. I don't know. Maybe we start Pereira and Smith Rowe with Sanderberger. I don't know, but I have a feeling he'll start and be important in this game. And then for Ipswich, I'm going to give two names because I cannot drop keeping an eye on Cameron Burgess. because he's ex-Fulham. But if I'm being realistic, I think Amari Hutchinson's going to be really dangerous and someone that we might struggle against. In terms of score predictions, the heart says 2-0, the head says 1-1.
Okay, I think you've made a really good point. Murray Hutchinson was the player that I was thinking of at Ipswich that we should watch out for. I think he's a very good player. I've really enjoyed watching him play for Ipswich last year in the Championship, and I'm quite interested to see how he'll make that step up to playing in the Prem. As much as Smodics is the player that we've been raving about so far in this pod, I think that he is one that we probably should watch for. For us, I've got a funny feeling we might see a game here uh, where Dharma Traore is the one to watch out for, because I don't think the Ipswich defence would have had to have dealt with someone like him before, in the sense of power and pace. Because they're not used to that in the Championship. I know he's played in the Championship, but you don't see many players that can do what he can do. So I think he may be very integral to our result on the weekend. In terms of scoreline for me, my head and my heart, again, like Jack, probably two different things. Well, my heart says 3-1. My head says 2-2. Because it's Fulham, and that's how we do when we play away against teams that we're expecting we should probably get results from. We'll leave it here, guys. Obviously, for this week's game. Look out for us next week when we review this game against Ipswich. Like and subscribe, share amongst your Fulham mates and all your football pals. Let's hope we have a good result this weekend. Keep pushing up the table. Come on, you Whites.
Come on, you Whites.